Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and what a delight and an honor to have back with us today Erich Pratt. He's the Director of Communications for Gun Owners of America. And let me encourage you to check it out. Gunowners.org is their website, gunowners.org. And let me encourage you to join up and support them. Erich, good to see you, my friend. How you doing?
Doing real well. Thanks for having me back with you, Perry. It's always good to be with you.
Thank you. It's amazing that we go from a terrorist attack to an attack on the Second Amendment. What is it about the left wanting to go after our guns and the Second Amendment?
Well, I think ultimately it comes down to their worldview, which tends to be very big government oriented, wanting to take care of us from cradle to grave. And of course, within that then is taking care of our security, which of course government can't do that. But that's at least the worldview that says we're going to take care of you. Therefore, you don't need to have those dangerous weapons. And so you see this onslaught. And it's really amazing to behold just the hypocrisy and the double standards. You know, so many illegal aliens, millions of they just want to ignore the fact that they've broken the laws. In fact, anti-gun Democrats like states to prevent the states from arresting them as protections than most Americans. But now what we've been seeing recently with this attack, as you were saying, on the Second Amendment, they want to blame and punish law-abiding gun owners who have done nothing wrong, take away their Second Amendment rights, in essence, giving lawbreakers who've come into our country more rights than good, upstanding Americans who have done nothing wrong. As you suggested, this has become all about blaming law-abiding gun owners for what one terrorist did in Orlando, Florida.
So let me get this right. Extreme radical Islamic terrorists hate me and want to kill me. So the government says, we'll take your gun away.
It makes no sense. And you're absolutely right. If somebody hates you enough, they will take whatever tools are available to them. They couldn't get guns on the plane, so they used box cutters, and they killed over 3,000 people on 9/11. I think we've talked about this before. A guy filled with hate burned down a Bronx bar several years ago, just using matches and gasoline, actually killed more people in that bar than did Omar, the Orlando shooter, last week. It just goes to show that no matter what you ban, whether it's drugs or whatever, people are going to get their hands on those banned items. But the problem with banning certain firearms or restricting the right is that then you create these gun-free zones. You create these areas where guns are not allowed, and people are actually more dangerous in those zones as a result, because the bad guy is never going to obey those laws.
All right, Erich, yesterday was an interesting day in the U.S. Senate. 4 attempts to have an amendment to do some kind of gun control, and all 4 failed. What's that telling you?
Well, we were excited to see that Gun Owners of America opposed all 4 of the amendments. And we're not out of the woods yet. There's still going to be more votes. But we think that this was very good. Despite all the rhetoric that a majority of Americans supposedly support more gun control, I think it's indicative that the representatives that they send to Congress, or the senators that they send to Congress, for the most part, are opposed to more gun control. And one of the reasons is because gun control just frequently loses at the polls. President Clinton lamented that in the early 90s, that it was gun control that cost him control of the Congress. The Gore team lamented that gun control cost them the election in 2000. And, the gun issue, because it involves the right to life, the right to protect yourself, is a powerful motivator, not just for people on the right, but there's even a lot of Democrats that actually don't want their guns taken from them.
All right, so give us an update on President Obama's Social Security gun ban. I know that you're very concerned about that. And then, as you know, most recently there was talk about if you are on the FBI watch list, that you should have your guns taken away. And I'm thinking, well, All right, that sounds kind of interesting, but on the other hand, what's preventing the FBI from putting you and I on the watch list?
Well, exactly right. And I'll take up that last point first. Two of the amendments that failed yesterday, people who are on the watch list. And as you identify, watch list haven't gone into any court of law. They haven't been charged with a crime. They haven't been convicted of a crime. It's simply a bureau saying they need to be watched. Well, you can see how that can be abused. And in fact, it has been abused. Not only have there been tremendous mistakes where you have people like senators and representatives, Representative McClintock was accidentally put on it. And there's been many others. As an 8-year-old Cub Scout from New Jersey that is on the list and can't get off the list, which is ironic that the Orlando shooter was able to get off the list, but that 8-year-old Cub Scout, his parents have been trying to get him off the list and they can't get him off the list. And that just underscores how easy it is to be put on the list, how difficult it is to get off the list. And in some cases, it seems even the people that are put there for very political purposes. There have been writers at Fox News, other conservative writers that have been put on the list. We're concerned, especially given the rhetoric of the left, now saying that Republicans want to sell guns to ISIS, that people like the NRA and GOA, Gun Owners of America, are to blame for what happened in Orlando. It would be very easy to see many of our members or supporters put on that list because of this supposed link to terrorism. And again, it has nothing to do with due process. It has nothing to do with being convicted in a court of law for having committed a crime. And that's why Gun Owners of America said, look, you cannot deny people their Second Amendment rights. This is not a Minority Report society where we're looking into the future to try to decide who might commit crimes. That's a very tyrannical approach, a very repressive society if you want to go that route. For hundreds of years, we've operated under you only lose your rights if you commit a crime that is worthy of forfeiting your rights. Otherwise, you get due process. And so these amendments that failed yesterday, we were very excited to see that. We lobbied the Senate to oppose these. We encouraged our activists and members to call their senators to oppose both of the, there was a Democrat amendment dealing with government watch lists, and then there was a Republican amendment, which is more of a gun control light version. So without getting into the weeds, one was horrid, one was semi-horrid, but both of them failed. And so anyway, that's good news for gun rights. As I mentioned earlier, though, there's still there'll be more attempts at this. And so I encourage people, if they haven't already signed up for our email alerts at gunowners.org, please do that today, because we're going to be sending out alerts, giving people information as to how to communicate with their senators.
Or again, gunowners.org. Okay, again, Eric, given the socialistic kamikaze mode that this president is in, what are you sensing could come as it relates to the Second Amendment with his executive order? Remember, he's got the pin in the phone. And in particular, I'm really concerned about the Social Security gun watch. What is that?
Yeah, this is very disturbing. We're right now in the comment period. So it hasn't fully gone into effect yet, but basically the administration is saying if you're a senior who's receiving Social Security, basically they want to do to the Social Security recipients what's been done to the veterans. And that's maybe the best way to explain it, because with veterans, here are people who've fought to defend our country. They come back, many times dealing with PTSD and memory issues and things like that. And so they go to the VA for help and counseling. Well, what has happened since Bill Clinton's presidency is that their names have been forwarded to the FBI. They've been put into the NICS system as mental defectives, and they have lost their right to keep and bear arms. This has happened to over 257,000 military veterans. One of the reasons, by the way, that Gun Owners of America has always said it's a very dangerous thing for government to be deciding who can exercise their rights. without having been adjudicated in a court of law as being a criminal. This is one of the huge problems with a background check, is that it can easily be abused and good people can be denied. So that's what's been done to the military veterans. Well, in the same way, they're going to apply that standard now to Social Security recipients. So if you've been suffering with memory issues, or you have trouble balancing a checkbook, and you have a fiduciary, let's say a family member appointed to handle your finances, that will trigger your being considered, for purposes of purchasing a firearm, you will be considered a mental defective. Your name will be put into the NICS system, and you will lose your gun rights and potentially lose your gun collection. And so, kids and grandkids can kiss that inheritance goodbye. This is very pernicious, and the president is doing this because out of frustration of not being able to get Congress to act, because Congress has the representatives of the people has shot down every single gun control proposal he's thrown at them. So now he wants to circumvent Congress, and as you can.
All right, just quickly, there seems to be a silver lining, and I say this respectfully. As these most recent one in Orlando terrorist attack, gun sales go up, awareness of life protection goes up, and you pointed out that every time the Democrats go after some form of gun control, they lose seats in Congress. Happens every time. So this whole thing is heightened now in this presidential election, and you got Hillary that basically says, we're going to take your guns. She's committed to do it. Given the past record and where we are now with heightened safety and concerns, it seems like this may be playing in our favor.
Well, you're right. That could be a silver lining in that sense. And I think it's incumbent upon people like Trump not to get distracted with the back and forth silliness of insults and things like that, and stick to the issues that are really going to rally not only his Republican base, but in the same way as Bill Clinton found, see those pro-gun Democrats cross party lines, because the gun issue is such a powerful motivating issue. It will motivate the pro-gun Democrats, even though, and that was one of Joe Lieberman's frustrations. He was the vice presidential nominee for Al Gore, and he said, we had Democrats who agreed with us on every single issue but one, and that was the gun issue, and they voted for George Bush. So, these Democrats who are lifelong Democrats will cross party lines if they see a real distinct difference. And the fact that, Trump has been backtracking in recent days probably doesn't help. He needs to stick to his guns, so to speak, and just articulate Second Amendment principles, which says that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, and to say what that means. So infringements means all of this that we're talking about is unconstitutional. I mean, we should be talking about terrorism, and for some reason, the Republicans seem okay in allowing the Democrats to co-opt this issue and make it about guns, which may be to their detriment at the elections. You're right. But they've allowed them to co-opt this when really it should be a failure of the FBI to, be tracking guys like him for politically correct reasons. We need to get tough on terrorism, not on innocent Americans who are not using their guns to hurt anybody.
Got to go, Eric. Thank you, my friend. Again, if you want to get caught up on their newsletter or their alerts, go to gunowners.org and sign up, and you'll get their alerts. Gunowners.org, and they're expecting one out today. Thanks, Eric. Keep up the fight, buddy.
Thank you very much, Perry. Great again to be with you.
All right, God bless. We'll be right back.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.